Hi guys, how you going? Campbell here from Autodidactic Channel. Hope you're all having a fine and dandy day. And today I wanted to look into a bit of a phenomena that is called copycat buildings, and mainly focusing on China. And the story is that there are all these buildings that have been built recently, and they're being named copycat buildings. And they are basically, we're told, mimicking architecture from around the world. But this is just a search for capital buildings, and as we know, this is pretty much all Washington. But as we get down here, you'll see, and we know this, these are all around the world. These are all in different countries. Look at them all with a massive dome on the top, the same symmetry, the porticos, the steps. They're everywhere. Some of them you can see the lower levels. Is that the one in Texas? Texas, you can literally see the whole underground of it. We've seen the construction photos, or sorry, the like the renovation photos of Washington, and that clearly has lower levels. It had huge pillars under it, stairways, the whole lot. And this, we see it everywhere. So I mean, we live in a world of so-called copycat buildings anyway, because all the architecture is the same. It's all based on the same principles. So let's get into copycat buildings. And this is some of China's copycat buildings. And as you can see, we have like this, which is, obviously a poor recent reconstruction. I think that's supposed to be the Sydney Opera House. But then we also get things like this, built out city in China, oversized statues, everything. And here's one in Austria, which they're saying that they've basically replicated. And of course, with replicated buildings, we see these all over the world anyway, as it is. Here's another one. This is a copycat building, and I mean, they're just everywhere. So, what do you say about that? This is apparently China's copycat version of France. We've got an Eiffel Tower here. We have this very familiar architecture, geometry kind of stuff going on. And just these old world terrace buildings that we see absolutely everywhere anyway. So what's really going on here? Is this China? Is this copycat architecture? This is a copycat, they say, of the London Bridge. But the interesting thing about this one is it's actually bigger. It's double the size of the London Bridge, but with the same kind of architecture and towers. And there's tons of this stuff. Arches. This is saying it's in China. And look at that photo. See how this dome matches up through this arch, as they, so often do. And this massive government building, which you see all over the world anyway. So are these copycat buildings, is the question. We get obviously things like this, which are, quite clearly, that's a reproduction. But other things, they kind of raise questions. Is this a copycat building? This is what they're telling us. Copycat buildings. And look at the size of it. And like I said, we see these all over the world as it is anyway. So what is going on here? This is just an article that says China is now clamping down on copycat buildings. And the article basically says that the government's saying that, and international people apparently are saying that it's getting out of hand building these copycat buildings all over the place. So they're clamping down. It says here, from English towns to alpine villages to the Eiffel Tower, copies of foreign architecture can be seen across China. But now the government is clamping down in order to promote local design. A government statement says plagiarizing, imitating and copycatting designs is prohibited in new public facilities. The statement says buildings reveal a city's culture and that large foreign and weird designs should be limited. Weird? The guidelines also clamp down on new skyscrapers, limiting them in general to a maximum of 500 metres. Well, that's fair enough, I reckon. So what they're saying here is they're clamping down on this so-called copycat architecture because they want actual, Chinese or native sort of architecture instead. But just remember, China used to be Cathay, which used to be part of, as far as we can tell, the Tartarian Empire. And these buildings are everywhere throughout the region of what was Tartaria, and also through, America, Australia, Europe, etc. So is this some kind of ploy to actually get rid of the rest of the remnants and replace it with what they're calling local design? Which is probably this, right? Cubes. Borg cubes. So what are they building? Here is the top 10, according to the 1million.com, of China's copycat buildings. And look at, if that's a copycat building, that's a very good copycat building. If you look at this picture, this bit looks either new or, at the very least, renovated, reconstructed. But the rest of it, who knows? So are these places, I haven't, really looked into the geography of where these are, but I'm just wondering if all these, copycat massive structures are in these new territories. Because if you look in the background, this is just rows and rows of, like apartment buildings, which is what China does when they open up sort of new territory. So was this just sitting here and they've gone in and opened up this new stuff and they've sort of said, we built that, it was just copycat? That is the question I'm asking. This is an Arc de Triomphe. That, clearly that's we don't have much perspective as far as people, but it looks a bit small, looks a bit skinny, so that looks like it's probably a reproduction. And they could be doing these as well, these smaller ones, just to kind of, spread the story, the propaganda. Here's the Wall of China. The village of Huaxi includes a 2.5 mile long replica of the Great Wall of China. 2.5 miles, guys. Look at that. And look at this. Can you see that? I don't know if we can get a bigger picture, but can you see this? So we've got flat and then we've got this big wall, right angle wall up to another flattened bit. And of course here we have this, and it's almost a step down. So what's going on there? Is this why would they do that? It's not like it's a tourist attraction. This is communist China. Why are they building replicas? It doesn't make any sense. Where are they getting all the, where are they getting all the materials, artisans, architects, to do this stuff? And with the Great Wall of China, of course, the Great Wall of China it's facing the wrong way. All the turrets are facing into China, so it's like it was built to defend against China, not the other way around, not to sort of defend China. So yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Apparently they've got a Kremlin, US Capitol building. Well, everyone's got a US Capitol building. An Eiffel Tower in Little Paris. Got Christchurch theme towns. This is new architecture, obviously, but all these different things. And then, of course, and there you go, that's an aerial of the so-called replica of the London Bridge. And as you can see, it's much, much bigger than the original. And just looking at this landscape, look at all these man-made canals going everywhere. Spires, Antiquitech, the whole lot. Obviously it's all been refurbed and turned into Christian crosses. Okay, so this is a search, Eiffel Towers around the world. And if you didn't know, there are Eiffel Towers all over the place. That's Paris, so that's the actual one. Now this is, there's a good one, but you can see, look at this, look at the size of this, replica Eiffel Tower. Again, I mean, we've got the geomancy in the ground, the geometry gardens, but this looks like, well, actually they look pretty old, well, but we've got some new buildings here. It looks like a sort of new, like they've come in, because we've got all these tall apartments in the background, very laid out, very designed looking. And here we have Eiffel Tower replicas around the world. So this is that tower we were just looking at. It says the Eiffel Tower has been an inspiration since the beginning of the 20th century, with over 30 duplicates and similar towers around the world, some of which are as surprising as they are original. So the oldest replica of the Eiffel Tower is the Blackpool Tower in northern England, built in 1894. And that's it there. So that's, it's a bit of a different looking tower. It's not as splayed at the bottom, but it's the same kind of thing. So, what are these? Are these just antiquitech? And this is the thing with the Eiffel Tower. With the Eiffel Tower, there are construction photos, but there's actually, if you look into them, there seem to be different construction photos, and then we have old photos of what looks like the Eiffel Tower with extra bits on it. So, who knows if that was constructed or reconstructed or whatever for the World Expo, but it doesn't explain all these other towers around the world. Look at this one here. This is in Texas, Tennessee. 2 American cities named Paris have their own Eiffel Towers. And look at this building in the background. Look at that. I mean, this looks like, obviously, it's got a cowboy hat. Looks like a replica. That's, and it's obviously not as big. That's just a climbing tower that looks like the Eiffel Tower. That is a little bit bigger. I mean, and that as well, that could definitely be. Look at just the way it looks like it's constructed. It's kind of, it's not all straight. It's kind of flared a bit. Is that original antiquitech? Sitting up, of course, on a nice big base of sandstone. So this is Prague in Europe. Romania have one. And this one here, look at that. So look at that. Look how similar that is to this first one in Blackpool. See that? Very similar. Here's another one. This is in Slobosia, in the countryside. It's hard to get perspective of how big that is. Not sure. That may be just a replica, but it's hard to see. But what's it doing just out in a field in Slobosia? Like, why? Again, it doesn't look like a tourist mecca, does it? One of the most surprising replicas is located in the village of Paris in Russia. It's actually a mobile phone's antenna. Really? Again, this looks pretty out in the countryside. So was that found? Oh, here's another one. And as you can see, look at this. You can see that pretty much, that's the line, isn't it, between the old, sort of world stripped out antiquitech structures we see, like the Eiffel Tower, and what they may have actually been used for. Big antennas, big sending stations or receiving stations maybe. I mean, they're all made of metal. Asia loves the Eiffel Tower and has numerous replicas The best known in Tokyo was built in 1953, or so they say. And of course, Tokyo, as we know, is full of Tartarian buildings, old world buildings, what we're calling Tartaria. And this is a whole neighborhood in China that they've built. They built the whole. Because why not? Why not? Because you can see all the people there that need all these houses and all this space. I mean, look, it's full of 2 people. Oh, hang on, we've got a third. Oh, hang on. Oh, I'm just glad to see that they are social distancing. That's what's making me happy. Obviously an original, this one. Yes, I don't know, that even looks like it's made of wood maybe. That's pretty cool. But a replica, but yeah, these big ones. This is the thing. You know, they tell us these stories, and obviously, you know, the first one was built for the Paris World Expo, and, you know, we already have many questions about the World Expos. And I did do a search for China's London Bridge Tower, also China's London Tower Bridge construction. This is what I got, so I put 2012 at the end because that was the year it was built, and all I got was some Olympic rings on it. Now they actually, sorry, that's the actual original London Bridge. I'm wrong, but that, see how that just 1 pillar each side, and this is the one in China, twice the size. But yeah, these are the construction photos that we get when you search for a construction photo. This is London. Obviously that's black and white because they're saying this one was built 2012, but again lacking the photo evidence. So these are some old books of China back in the day. So this is, it says between 1721, sorry, that was the author, around 1750 is the publication date of this particular picture. And as you can see, we have huge architecture, massively oversized arches here, as we see arches, symmetry everywhere, and you know, it's definitely stylized into this, you know, what we sort of call Oriental or Asian kind of look. But as you can see, this stuff, as far as being in China, this kind of architecture is not a new thing. It's all up in the background. Here's something that looks like the Arc de Triomphe. Lots of people lined up, and just, you know, old world buildings all the way down there. And someone who is still learning to colour inside the lines. They haven't done a very good job there. This one as well, 1750. And same story. You know, this is the same things we see all over the world. You know, big wide steps going up, arches, you know, double-story brick buildings, triple-story buildings, oversized, huge courtyards, you know, everything in complete symmetry. And this is 1750 in China, or maybe Cathay as it used to be called. And of course there is a lot of research and investigation into, you know, who was inhabiting China, you know, sort of a couple of 100 years ago, because, oh, what's that? They're dancing lions. Look at this. It looks like the symbol we see everywhere. Yeah, of course they've, you know, there are pyramids in China, and there's mounds everywhere, and they have found giant Caucasian mummies with red hair. And of course, if you look into it, people like Genghis Khan were also white, very large, with red hair. Now this is a book I came across. This is the 1667, so we're going back a bit further here. And what have we got? I've got some people here, and as we come along we find, whoops, things like this. So this is 1600s in China, and as you can see we have this very large building. Look at the size of the people here. This is a camel by the looks of it, and you know, not making much of an impression size-wise on this structure. And this again, this is where they kind of layer the shapes down on each other. The word has escaped me at the moment. What have we got at the top here? A little angel or something? A bit of Antiquitech. Taras Novizunia. Sina something. So yeah, this is China 1600s, and in the background, you know, again, look at these huge pagodas, and these are the same really when you look at them. And I mean, this is obviously, maybe this is one of these without the stylizing, without the face add on it, the facade. But what are these? You know, these are big towers that we see everywhere. They've just got the different look to them. Different architecture. Okay, that's an interesting pic. I'll do with 3 faces, 3 sets of arms. This guy's peeking around going, what's going on there? A little bit weird. Here we have some giant-sized bells, and in the background it looks like they are working on a huge tower or pagoda, but check out the size of these bells. And more old world architecture, and this is an elephant, of course. You can see the size of this doorway. And this again, this is China 1600s. This, you know, not looking particularly, you know, oriental, is it? It's looking more like we see throughout sort of Europe, just, you know, without the facade. A stone bridge. Old world, and you can see, look at this picture, this looks like it's been there forever. And I'm not exactly sure what this picture is, but it's interesting because, you know, pyro, so this is a fire, obviously. Pyre too, I'm going to get into that in a future video, that's got some interesting meaning. So this is a big kiln, and in the background, you know, I mean, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's at least a 6-7 story building. And they also had flying turtles back in the day. Maybe he was a ninja turtle. And some more old architecture here. We can see very, you know, looking like the old world architecture we see everywhere. Brick underneath a plastered facade. And these birds, I don't know what they are, but they are rather large, aren't they? I haven't heard of these huge birds in China. Does anyone know what they are? Look at they look a bit like turkeys. They got their Spartan helmet on their head. This looks like I don't know, what is that? A giant sloth beaver with a collar on? I don't know, these guys look like they're trying to train it. And what's this in the background? Looks like a little shadow creature. But this is, yeah, what I wanted to show you, like just jutting out of the background here, another big tower. China, 1600s. And here is a monkey eating a pineapple, and in the background, a huge wall full of old world buildings and large pagoda towers. And pineapples are a very interesting plant. The way they grow. See, this is the fruit, and what you do is you cut the top off it, and you eat the fruit, and you plant this top bit, and this top bit grows, and the top grows into the new plant, and then out of the middle grows the new fruit. And of course, you can take the top off that, and you plant it, and you get a new fruit. So it almost sort of works backwards to the way that most other plants work. Most other plants, you plant the bottom, and they grow roots, and that'll sort of shoot stuff off. This you grow the top, and it grows new fruit out the top. It's like this big, I don't know, totem pole of pineapples. And here's another shot, just to show you. Tower just in the background, just random. And that is a very big durian. These look like durians. That's huge. And a lot of the stuff in this book looks a bit oversized as well. This is just sort of 1600s, mid to late 1600s, and there seems to be a lot of giant-sized things like that otter sloth thing. And this is a very interesting picture that's in this book. I'll leave the link for this book below as well in the description. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What look to be towers popping out of hills. 7 towers popping out of 7 hills. Mons Urfi Majoris Figurum 7 Epicubus Fins Expedimens. I have no idea what I just said. But yeah, just interesting. Pic kind of looks a bit, you know, flooded or melted or something. I mean, obviously it's a drawing. The Athanasi Kirchery. So there you go. This is a shot of a Chinese settlement in the late 1800s. And what we see is just the remnants of old brick buildings, very flooded out looking. And we've even got this thing in the background here. Part of an old world structure. This is the interior of a shop. Jose House within the city wall in Tianjin, China. And look at this woodwork. And up here the carvings. This again is the stuff that we see all over the world. Same kind of stuff. It's in all the old world buildings, and here it is in China in the 1800s. Yet they're trying to tell us that all these buildings that we see are copycat buildings. So again, the question is, are they? Check this out. As you can see, this is quite off the ground, nice construction, and you can go inside, and this looks like, the rotundas, or the bandstand type things that we see around. Obviously a lot more off the ground, and it's got something inside it. This looks like a machine, where the ones that we get, these seem to be buried. We just sort of see the top of them, and whatever this is not there anymore. And I did show a pic in one of my videos where it was an old drawing illustration that showed a machine from one of these rotundas going down into the ground and into a water reservoir. So interesting. This is pretty whited out. That's just looks like an old train. But yeah, this is China 1800s. Here we go. What's this? Ruins, defenses of the wall. So, we've just got ruins here. Look at these ruins. I mean, unfortunately, this is pretty bleached out, this pic, but there is a big structure out in the background here. Looks like there's another one there. And just this, look at that, it's fallen over. Just an old brick structure that's sort of been left. So, this stuff was already in China. And this structure is in Tokyo Disneyland in Japan. This pic has been shown before. John Levi showed it. I think Conspiracies Are Us also showed it. But when you look at this, I mean, this is just a complete old world building. Obviously a big copper dome here with Antiquitech coming off. More domes. These bits that we see everywhere that sort of hang off the walls. And obviously these are the same shapes that we see underneath domes. Whoops, I can't get down there. And then this sort of Moorish arch here, everything in symmetry. I mean, this is just so old world looking, and look at how it's cantilevered off the edge there. Isn't that interesting? And isn't that interesting that if the ground level was here, it just looked like a 2-3 story house. Yeah, so this, we are told, was built recently as part of Tokyo Disneyland. It's just a building. I'm not sure. I think you can go inside it and there's like a ride. I'm just trying to see these windows. They look smashed, don't they? They look all smashed out. Maybe that's part of the ride. But yeah, so this is it. And you can see huge old world structure. And if we have a look, this is in front of it. And this, again, Tokyo Disneyland. Again, this is it in the background, but look what's in the front of it. It's all just completely sort of old world. But again, we are told that this is new construction. So is this a way that they are hiding the past? They're just trying to, you know, rebrand everything and claim everything as their own. Now this as well is Tokyo Disneyland. And of course it's a pretty familiar castle. We've got massive stone turrets here and huge. A lot of brick and work has gone into this. Now this, I don't know. This may be a reconstruction and it may not be a reconstruction, but it's very interesting. This is obviously, they're saying it's Disneyland, so this is their reason they can have a castle that looks exactly the same as a castle in Disneyland in the USA. But is that just a cover? Look at the antiquity on that. Spires everywhere. I mean, that just looks like a machine, doesn't it? But obviously very close to Disneyland. Let's have a look. And so is this what they're doing? Is this just part of the way that they're covering up the past by just, you know, they find a castle that happens to look like the Disneyland castle, because of course we know the architecture all over the world is the same. And so what do? They just say, oh, let's make another Disneyland. I mean, why not? This is Disneyland. Oh no, sorry, that's Shanghai. That's another one. What? Is that the same? Shanghai is China, not Japan. Okay, getting confused. That looks the same. Shanghai is China, right? That's Japan. Okay, maybe someone got that wrong. Let's go Disneyland. So there you go. I mean, what? How many of these castles are there? Okay, Disneyland, Sleeping Beauty Castle. Okay, it's getting a makeover. So this is just the Sleeping Beauty Castle in Disneyland, obviously with a facade that makes it look constructed. Looks a bit kind of plasticky, but it's just a facade. Now, where's the original castle? I cannot, There's not many pictures of it. No, this is called oh my God, now I'm getting confused. Is that the same building? See, look how tall that is. And look at that. It kind of makes a big pyramid-like triangle, doesn't it? Vortexing, pointing all the energy up to a point. Because, of course, we have the square base. We have the 4 pillars, which we see everywhere on the corners. You know, the 4 angels. And then we have, in the middle, the big spire, the big Mount Meru. And these, so is that making a big sort of energy pyramid? So, yeah, all these castles, this is Cinderella. So there's obviously several of these castles around Disneyland Park. It just doesn't look like the original Disney castle to me. But anyway, the point is, these things, you know, we just sort of have these random castles. And the thing is, when you look at these castles, I mean, seriously, you can go to Germany and you can see something that is pretty similar to that, sitting on the top of a mountain. Okay, so that's not unique architecture. This stuff is all over the world anyway. So again, this is the question. Are they just rediscovering this stuff, cleaning it up, renovating it, taking it as their own, and then of course, as they love to do, turning it into commerce, capitalizing it, turning it into capital, and charging us to walk through our heritage and to our past. But of course, they change all the stories and say, no, it's not your past. We built this. So this is the thing. This is why this realm that we're in it's not what we're told it is. It's an illusion, and at the moment the veil is lifting, and a lot of it has to do with the architecture and the old world. So I've probably gone on a little bit long in this one, but yeah, I hopefully got the message across. Just asking questions. All these buildings that we're told are reconstructions or built for theme parks. Obviously we've looked into theme parks before. Are they just remnants of the old world that have been tidied up, cleaned up, and then presented, rebranded as new and built by the parasites recently? Because that's kind of what it's looking like. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed that one. Thanks for spending some time with me, and I'll catch you all on the next upload. Bye for now.